Good evening, viewers. You're watching Sansad Television, and this is the news with me, Rashika. In the next half an hour, we will take you through the top developments of the day, be it national, international, business, or sports. Let's begin with the headlines at this hour. Explosion in chemical factory in Hapur district of Uttar Pradesh claims 8 lives, 15 injured. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath expresses grief. President Ramnath Kovind calls on industrial sector to help government in reducing carbon emission. Lay stress on reducing carbon emissions by 2030. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu's visit to Qatar on the last leg of three-nation tour. Delegation-level talks with Naib Emir of Qatar. Review of bilateral cooperation on the agenda. Union Home Minister Amit inaugurates 4th Khelo India Youth Games in Panchkula. India and ISSF World Cup campaign in Baku. Swapnil Kusale and Ashi Choksi win gold medal in 50-meter rifle 3 positions mixed team competition. Now some important stories of the day in our flash segment. Prime Minister Modi to launch global initiative Lifestyle for the Environment Life Movement on Sunday. Strict action against those involved in Kanpur violence, says Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. Heal in India and Heal by India. 2 cornerstones of India's health system, says Health Minister Mandavya. Prime Minister Modi to attend program on Safe Soil Movement at Vidyan Bhavan on 15th of June. Women and Child Development Minister Smriti Irani chairs sub-zonal meeting in Raipur to highlight achievements of NDA government. Jammu and Kashmir to host maiden, maternal and child health conclave. Maharashtra makes masks mandatory in public places except open places amid a spike in COVID cases. Odisha issues alert after H1N1 flu after 2 cases detected after a gap of over 2 years. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister declares movie Samrat Prithviraj tax-free in the state. China to launch 3 astronauts to the core module of unfinished Chinese space station on Sunday. Nine people were killed and over 19 injured when a boiler exploded in a chemical factory in Hapur district, Uttar Pradesh. The accident took place in the industrial area of Daulana police station area. The explosion was so strong that the roofs of many factories in the vicinity were blown off. Police administration and fire department rescued many people. The injured have been hospitalized. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath expressed grief over the incident. He has directed officials to conduct rescue work and extend all possible help to the family members. President Ramnath Kovind on Saturday appealed to the industry to help the government in reducing carbon emission. He was addressing a function on the 90th anniversary of the Board of Trade of Uttar Pradesh in Kanpur. The president said while Kanpur is famous for industries, it is equally infamous for population, especially in the Ganges. He said the government is making efforts to make the river clean under the Namami Gange project. The president said the government has set a target of minimizing carbon emissions by 2030. He also said the industry sector's role is vital in achieving the goal.
आपकी संस्था अगले 10 वर्षों में 100 वर्ष की हो जाएगी। उसकी खुशी जितनी आपको है उससे ज्यादा मुझे भी है। किसी भी संस्था की यात्रा में शताब्दी वर्ष का एक महत्वपूर्ण स्थान होता है। यह अवसर अपनी पिछली यात्रा पर गर्व करने के साथ-साथ भविष्य की दिशा दशा तय करने का भी होता है।
The president also took part in the centenary celebrations of the Gita Press in Gorakhpur. He was received by the governor and the chief minister at the airport on reaching Gorakhpur. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu reached Qatar's capital Doha on the last leg of his three-nation tour. On Friday, he addressed the India-Senegal business event in Senegal. He expressed hope that India-Senegal bilateral trade will see significant growth in the years to come. The Vice President said that despite the pandemic, the bilateral trade between the two countries crossed a record level of USD 1.65 billion last year. The major items exported from India to Senegal include textiles, foodstuffs, automobiles and medicine.
We have discussed at length the ways in which we can further strengthen our trade relations and widen trade basket. There has been a welcoming economic growth and trade ties between our countries.
Vice President Naidu also met President of Senegal's National Assembly, Mustafa Niasse, in Senegal capital, Dhaka. Vice President remarked that while India is the largest democracy in the world, Senegal is one of Africa's most stable and model democracies. Calling them both natural partners, he praised Senegal for conducting presidential, parliamentary and local elections in a free, fair and transparent manner. The Vice President also emphasized the need for mutual respect between political opponents in a democracy. He described debate, discussions and dialogue as the essence of the legislative process. The Vice President said all countries should make efforts to maintain peace. BJP President JP Nadda interacted with diplomats from 7 countries in the No BJP initiative at the party headquarters in Delhi. The diplomats were given detailed information about the history of the BJP, the features of the party organization and the government policy guided by the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Diplomats from Laos, Russia, Cuba, Turkey, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan participated in the program. Last month, on May 16th, the BJP president interacted with diplomats based in Delhi from 15 countries, including America, New Zealand, Suriname, Sri Lanka, Philippines, Kenya, Israel, Indonesia. Now news from across the nation. Family members of Punjabi singer Sidhu Moosewala met Union Home Minister Amit Shah in Chandigarh. They are reported to have sought a CBI investigation into his murder. Unidentified assailants killed Moosewala in Mansa district on 29th May. A Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist was killed and 3 soldiers and a civilian were injured in an encounter in Jammu and Kashmir's Anantnag district. Indiscriminating material, arms and ammunition, including an AK-47 rifle, were recovered from the site of the incident. The Uttar Pradesh police filed cases against 500 people after violence and stone pelting in Kanpur. 40 people were injured. Security has been tightened in the affected areas of the city. The Congress suffered a huge blow in Punjab after 4 senior leaders and former ministers joined the BJP. The leaders include Kumar Vedka, Balbir Singh Sidhu, Sundar Sham Arora and Gurpreet Singh Kangar. BJP released its list of candidates for the Lok Sabha and Assembly by-elections. Ghanshyam Lodhi and Dinesh Lal Yadav will contest from Uttar Pradesh, Chief Minister from Manik Saha from Tripura, Rajesh Bhatia from Delhi, and Gangotri Kujor from Jharkhand. Union Health and Family Welfare Minister Mansukh Mandavia arrived in Patna on a 3-day visit to Bihar. The Health Minister inaugurated a liquid chromatography lab at the National Institute of Medicinal Education and Research, Hajipur. Anti-COVID vaccine doses administered in the nationwide vaccination campaign has totaled 193 crore 96 lakhs so far. According to the Health Ministry, over 11,67,000 vaccines were administered in the last 24 hours. The first flight with Hajj pilgrims from Kerala to Medina in Saudi Arabia departed from the Kochi airport. 377 passengers left on the Saudi Arabian Airlines flight. It was flagged off by Minister V. Abdurrahim. Time for a short break here. On the other side, Foreign Minister Jaishankar questions Europe's double standards on Russian oil prices, on Russian oil purchases, says it has to grow out of the mindset that its problems are the world's problems.
Watch our special presentations in The Defenders only on Sansad TV.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव के चलते भारतीय संस्कृति और उसके गौरव से जुड़े कार्यक्रमों की देश और दुनिया में है धूम। और हमारे साप्ताहिक कार्यक्रम आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव के जरिए हम आप तक लेकर आते हैं इन्हीं कार्यक्रमों की झलकियां। बताते हैं आपको इस महोत्सव से जुड़ा क्या कुछ हो रहा है खास देश और दुनिया में। तो देखिए मेरे साथ आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव सोमवार शाम 7:30 बजे सिर्फ संसद टीवी।
Welcome back after the break. You're watching the news. Time now for all the main developments from the Russia-Ukraine war front. And in all the latest developments related to the Ukraine conflict, the United Nations says its humanitarian chief Martin Griffiths had frank and constructive discussions with Russian officials to reach a deal on agricultural exports amid an escalating food crisis. Griffiths held meetings with officials in the Ministries of Foreign Affairs and Defense on Wednesday and Thursday to facilitate the export of grain and other food from Ukrainian ports on the Black Sea to global markets. Ukraine's President Zelensky says his country won't stop its resistance against the Russian invasion. Zelensky issued a video message to mark 100 days of war surrounded by other top officials. He asserted that victory will be ours. Ukraine wants to strengthen its position on the ground with new weapons deliveries from the West before it resumes peace talks with Russia, a Ukrainian negotiator has said. He said Ukrainian armed forces are ready to use the new weapons, after which they can initiate a new round of talks from a strengthened position. Meanwhile, Ukraine has claimed that it recaptured a chunk of the industrial city of Severodonetsk in the Luhansk region, the focus of a Russian offensive to take the eastern Donbas region. The governor of the Luhansk region has alleged that Russian forces are blowing up bridges across the Severodonetsk River to prevent Ukraine from bringing in military reinforcement and delivering aid to civilians in Severodonetsk. He, however, said that Ukrainian military continued to hold its position inside Severodonetsk and was pushing back Russian forces in several locations. The Russian Defense Ministry said its troops destroyed a base of foreign mercenaries outside Odessa, along with an artillery training center in the Sumy region. It said that high-precision air-launched missiles hit an artillery training center of the Ukrainian armed forces near a village in the Sumy region. Russian President Putin blamed the West for the emerging global food and energy crisis and repeated his government's offers of safe passage for ships exporting grain from Ukraine if mines are removed from the waters. He said Russia wasn't blocking grain shipments from Ukraine and that the West is using Russia as a scapegoat for its problems. The Ukrainian president addressed the United 24 platform in Washington on Saturday, urging people and businesses to donate funds for the restoration of Ukraine's infrastructure. He said ruins are all that is left behind by the Russians, but people need to have somewhere to return. Time for some other global updates. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar on Friday rejected accusations that India is funding the war in Ukraine by buying significant amounts of Russian oil. Speaking at the GlobeSec Forum in Bratislava, Slovakia, Subramaniam Jaishankar asked if the West is so concerned, why doesn't it allow Iranian oil to come into the market? Why doesn't it allow Venezuelan oil to come into the market?
Whereas by purchasing this oil for national interest, India is being asked, are you funding this war?
So, look, I mean, I don't want to sound argumentative, but then tell me if buying Russian gas is not funding the war? I mean, why is it's only Indian money and oil coming to India which funds, but it's not gas coming to Europe which funds? I mean, look, somewhere, I mean, let's be a little even-handed out here. And even this, look, the whole narrative that it's gone up 9 times. I mean, it's gone up 9 times from a very low base. And it was a very low base because at that time the markets were more open. Why if countries in Europe and the West and the United States are so concerned, why don't they allow Iranian oil to come into the market? Why don't they allow Venezuelan oil to come into the market? I mean, they've squeezed every other source of oil we have. And then say, okay, guys, you must not go into the market and get the best deal for your people. I don't think that's a very fair approach.
S. Jaishankar also spoke about exports of Indian wheat to low-income countries.
The low-income buyers were being squeezed out. The wheat was actually being stocked for being traded. So, in a way, our goodwill was being used for speculation. Mm-hmm. So, we had to do something to stop that. Because it was also impacting us at home. Our prices were going up. So, I want to be very clear what we have done. We have actually said, look, we're not going to give speculators an open access to the Indian market so that the Indian customer and the LDCs of the world get the short end of that.
The External Affairs Minister explained why India is not taking sides in the conflict in Ukraine.
That you have the West, US-led, you have China as the next potential access. Where does India fit into this? But are you planning to not take a side?
No, I'm sorry. That is exactly where I disagree with you. This is the construct you are trying to impose on me, and I don't accept it. I mean, I don't think it's necessary for me to join this axis or not, and if I'm not joining this, I must be with the other one. I don't accept that. I mean, I think I'm 1/5 of the world's population. I'm today the 5th or 6th largest economy in the world. I mean, forget the history, civilization bit, everybody knows that. But I think I'm entitled to have my own side. I'm entitled to weigh my own interests, make my own choices. And my choices will not be cynical and transactional, but they will be a balance of my values and my interests. There is no country in the world which disregards its interests.
Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
The External Affairs Minister asserted that the world cannot be as Eurocentric as it used to be in the past. He also said attempts to draw linkages between India's relations with China and the ongoing conflict in Europe are totally misplaced.
Somewhere Europe has to grow out of the mindset that Europe's problems are the world's problems, but the world's problems are not Europe's problems. That if it is you, it's yours. If it is me, it's ours. I think that's something, and I see, reflections of that. Again, in terms of, there is a linkage today which is being made. A linkage between China and India and what's happening in Ukraine. So come on, guys. I mean, China and India happened way before anything happened in Ukraine. So the Chinese don't need a precedent somewhere else in the world on how to engage us or not engage us, or be difficult with us or not be difficult with us. So, as I said, I mean, I just see this as frankly a not very clever argument.
World food prices dipped marginally in May for the second month in a row after hitting a record high in March. The Food and Agriculture Organization has said that supplies from countries like India have contributed hugely towards this.
The top economist at the UN Food and Agriculture Organization says the cereal price index hit an all-time high in May. He said while the gap in wheat stands at 3 million metric tons, in part because of the war in Ukraine, the supply of other grains like maize have been supported by increased production from countries like India and the US.
Important to understand that for this year, so the season 2021-2022, the gap that we have in wheat right now is 3 million metric tons, and the gap that we have in maize is 12 million metric tons because of the war in Ukraine. The reason why the gap in wheat is smaller, it's only 3 million metric tons, is because there was a supply response by India, mostly, and by the European Union. And in the case of maize, the supply response came from Argentina and by the US.
Torero also said that there is a concern that fertilizers may be limited, which would affect next year's growing season. But he asserted that sanctions placed on the Russian Federation will not impact the exporting of fertilizers to countries that need them.
The major concern, of course, is key exporting countries so that they have enough fertilizers so that they can supply and get the same yields as the previous year. But also, of course, there is a challenge, especially from some West African countries and Sri Lanka and other Asian countries which are key exporters of rice that could be affected because of the lack of access to fertilizers.
Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Now in some more news across the world. US President Joe Biden has shot back at Tesla CEO Elon Musk's comment that he has a super bad feeling about the US economy and is considering laying off 10% of the company's workers. Speaking to reporters from Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, Biden responded with the names of a number of American companies that are growing. He said that while Elon Musk is talking about laying off workers, Ford is increasing investment in building new electric vehicles and adding 6,000 new employees. Several hundred people marched through downtown Stockholm on Friday afternoon to protest against what they perceive as political inaction towards climate change. The protest was organized by Fridays for Future, first started in 2018. Protesters accused the participants of the currently ongoing Stockholm Plus 50 conference of inaction. Today is the 33rd anniversary of the bloody crackdown in Beijing's Tiananmen Square on June 4, 1989. For many years, Hong Kong held a huge candlelight vigil at the Victoria Park, but authorities started cracking down in 2020. Dozens of police officers patrolled Hong Kong's Victoria Park today after authorities for the third consecutive year banned public commemoration of the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square crackdown. After a hiatus due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Ni Una Menos, Not One Woman Less collective took to the streets of Buenos Aires once again to demand the eradication of and punishment of sexist violence. Members of the feminist collective called for demonstrations in the capital and throughout Argentina under the slogan, "Alive, free and debt-free, we want us. The state is responsible." The march marked the 7th anniversary of the Ni Una Menos movement. German lawmakers passed a €100 billion defense budget boost, initiating a major spending spree over several years. The bill to establish a special fund for Germany's armed forces passed parliament by a vote of 593 against 80. Together with the country's regular defense budget of roughly €50 billion, the money is meant to get Berlin to spend an average of 2% of its gross domestic product on defense over 5 years, a fiscal target set for NATO members. Desperate to deal with its growing population of pigeons, the city of Barcelona is feeding the birds with food containing a contraceptive drug. The city's vets and archaeologists say pigeon excrement is damaging historic buildings and attract rats and other pests. Here's a report.
Hungry pigeons are clustering near one of Spain's most famous cathedrals, the Sagrada Familia, in the Catalan city of Barcelona. The birds are flourishing here to the extent that their droppings are damaging some of the city's most ancient and beautiful buildings. Barcelona attracts millions of visitors each year. Many leave behind traces of food or deliberately seek to feed the pigeons. The problem is that pigeons are a species with great cognitive capacities. They adapt well to the urban ecosystem and know perfectly well the place where they are fed. But the grain that is being served to them here is coated with a contraceptive chemical in an attempt to control a population that has quadrupled in recent years. Nicarbazine is used to control bird populations around the world. As well as having the advantage of being non-lethal, the drug is rapidly excreted from the bird's body. In other places, nuisance bird populations are often culled. Barcelona started its sterilization program in 2017 to stop the bird's capacity to lay fertile eggs. The city has 36 points with 44 food dispensers strategically located in areas where overpopulation is most critical. Since 2017, the scheme has reduced the population in particularly overcrowded colonies by up to 60%. The current yearly rate of decrease is between 20 and 30%. But the maximum effectiveness is in areas where people do not feed them. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Time now for all the sporting action. Starting with Khelo India Games, the 4th edition of the Khelo India Youth Games 2021 has officially kicked off in Haryana with a glittering opening ceremony. Union Home Minister Amit is to launch the Grand Sports Festival at Panchkula. The Games will continue till 13th of June and will witness as many as 25 sport events, which will be held at 5 venues: Panchkula, Ambala, Shahabad, Chandigarh and Delhi. In wrestling, Indian wrestlers continued their good show at the Bola Turlikhanov Cup Wrestling Meet in Almaty. Sarita Moore won the gold medal in 59 kg freestyle category. In the 65 kg category, Manisha also won a gold medal. Bipasha won silver in 72 kg category. In the 55 kg category of the women's section, Sushma Shaukin won a bronze medal. India has so far won 10 medals in the tournament. India's tally includes 5 gold, 1 silver and 4 bronze medals. In shooting, India ended their campaign at the ISSF World Cup in Baku, Uzbekistan with a gold in the 50-meter rifle 3 positions mixed team competition. Swapnil Kosale and Ashi Choksi beat the Ukrainian mixed team 16-12 in the gold medal match today. This was India's second goal of the campaign after the women's air rifle team had won 1 earlier. India also has 3 silvers from the tournament and stood second of the medals tally to Korea after the mixed 3-position final. In tennis, women's world number 1 Iga Swiatek has won the French Open Women's Singles Grand Slam title. In the final, Swiatek faced American teenager 18-year-old and the 18th seed of the tournament, Coco Gauff. Swiatek has been in excellent form, winning 34 consecutive matches before the final continued her dream run, beating Gauff in straight sets 6-1, 6-3 to win her second French Open. The French Open men's singles final will be played between 13-time champion Rafael Nadal and Norway's Casper Ruud. Nadal reached his 14th French Open final after Alexander Zverev was forced to quit the semi-final after suffering a horror right ankle injury. Zverev was trailing 6-7, 6-6 when he got injured. In the second semi-final, Ruud defeated Croatia's Marin Cilic 3-6, 6-4, 6-2, 6-2. Before the wrap, let's take a quick look again at the headlines. Explosion in chemical factory in Hapur district of Uttar Pradesh claims 9 lives, 19 injured. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath expresses grief. President Ramnath Kovind calls on industrial sector to help government in reducing carbon emissions. Lay stress on reducing carbon emissions by 2030. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu's visit to Qatar on the last leg of 3-nation tour. Delegation-level talks with Naib Emir of Qatar. Review of bilateral cooperation on the agenda. Union Home Minister Amit Shah to inaugurate 4th Khelo India Youth Games in Panchkula. India end ISSF World Cup campaign in Baku. Swapnil Kosale and Ashi Choksi win gold medal in 50-meter rifle 3-position mixed team competition. That's all we have time for this in this bulletin. Stay tuned to Sansad Television for more updates. Good night.